And we're back. So I got 45 minutes. I'm feeling that's not going to be long enough. Let's see though. I'm going to start out with an I Ching or I Ching reading before we do Stictomany. Of course I need a pen. Hold on. And we're back. Let's see. My hand's as good as any paper. No reason to waste any more trees. This happens more often than not. The sixth line, every time, becomes the changing line. And it was a 6 this time, which 6s and 9s are changing lines. And it's symmetrical. We got a solid, 2 broken, solid, 2 broken. But then, with that changing line on the end, makes it the inverse. Broken, solid, solid, broken, solid, solid. Nice and balanced. Let's see what that calls for before we get into having a sip, which came for free. And I didn't have to walk so far, even though I offered to pay somebody for something, but they didn't have it. But they had something else, but it was less, but it's more. Everything works out like it's supposed to. So what we got here? We got mountain on mountain. 52. That seems to be the number of the day. 52. Okay. Turning into a lake on a lake. Damn. Both those make me think of sexual things. I don't know. Maybe I just got a dirty mind. I probably need to get some. 52 to 58. Mountain on mountain is mountains. Mountains stand back to back. If you do not recognize yourself, and while going through the yard do not see the people, there's no blame. Mountains, this is what we're coming from. Since it's changing states, it's from one to the other. Which, hey, we just did one kind of reading, and now we're going to do a different kind of reading. Mountains represent stopping. When it is time to be still, then stop. When it is time to act, then go ahead. Well, damn. If that didn't make sense, I don't know what does. When action and stillness do not miss their timing, the path is illuminated. Mountains mean stillness in the sense of stopping or staying in the appropriate place. When those above and those below are opposed to each other, they don't have anything to do with each other. This is why there's no blame when you do not recognize yourself and do not see the people while going through the yard. So if everything's against one, then that one's in the right. That's not to say that all the others are in the right too. But yeah, in the right too. In opposition. And so balance is achieved. The image says, as the mountains are stationary, cultured people think without getting out of place. To 58. We're coming up to pleasing. For pleasing to succeed, it helps to be correct. With that, I guess we'll take our first drink before we get into our Stictomany. Pleasing means delighting. I think this is equal to like, what? A glass of wine? Maybe 2 glasses, depending on how you fill it. That's more than enough. It's funny how when you drink too much, it's called being shit-faced. Most of the time, people that are like too sober are kind of like shit-faced all the time. Like, it's hard to call it. Strength, balanced, flexible outside, pleasing, thus benefits the upright. This is the way to accord with nature and respond to humanity. When the people are led in a pleasing way, the people forget their toil. When difficulties are faced in a pleasing way, the people are mindless of dying. The importance of pleasing is how the people are encouraged. Cheers to that. I had 2 glasses of water before this. It probably won't even kick in before I'm done reading. Joined lakes symbolize pleasing. Cultured people form associations for learning. Pleasing by harmonizing bodes well. What bodes well about pleasing by harmonizing is that actions are not doubted. Pleasing by sincerity bodes well. Regret disappears. What bodes well about pleasing by sincerity is trusting intentions. Forced pleasing bodes ill. What bodes ill about forced pleasing is being out of place. Calculated pleasing is uneasy, firmly disdaining it, and there will be rejoicing. Joy for the strong in this position is to have something to celebrate. I celebrate every moment we're together, even when it seems as though we're apart. There's danger in trusting usurpers. For trusting usurpers, the position is just right. If that isn't something to think about. Attraction pleases. For the weak in this position, pleasing by attraction is not yet glorious. All right. So I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books here. And as it seems appropriate for spirit, one way or another, and the issue at hand, half of them are religious books. Because what's spirit if it's not God? And what is a human being if a human being doesn't have spirit? They're a corpse. Whether they're having anything, an intoxicant or not. What substance can anyone stand upon other than their own ground, which is the body, which, even as one is a vegetable, laying in a coma, is still holding that rock of Gibraltar, their life on the body, even though nobody else can use it, except for, to charge the family all this money to keep the person alive in hopes that maybe that they'll come back. But then if they come back, the odds are they'll never be the same. So spirit is teaching everyone all the time. At any cost. Free, expensive, here or there. Spirit is Everything. Essentially, I look at the time I have left. It's 45:14. That's for my address, 514. All right, let's see. What story in a few paragraphs, or each paragraph in itself, can be learned in this moment? I have a couple things highlighted on this page. This book is a Buddhist Bible. It contains all the writings, not all, but all from different sources around the world of Buddhism, as it's falling apart into all these different pieces. And a good place to start when talking about spirit. You can't really get anywhere from Buddhism, as Buddhism is psychology, is practically science from square one before there was any science. And every Buddha is Jesus Christ in the cave. I mean, that's what Buddhism was created on. If there's one for anyone, well, all those that don't have anyone end up becoming, in the old world, becoming the Buddhists. And then they all day long toil and work for nothing. And they use their ego to hammer those fucking rocks together to build a temple so that everyone can come and rejoice in their work and go, oh, look, God blessed me. And then at night, then they have to walk around town asking, begging for food. Now that's the Son of Man. All forms are transient. All formations are subject to suffering. All things are without an ego entity. Form is transient. Feeling is transient. Perception is transient. Mental formations are transient. Consciousness is transient. And that which is transient is subject to suffering. And of that which is transient and subject to suffering and change, one cannot rightly say, this belongs to me, this am I, this is my ego. Therefore, whatever there be of bodily form, or feeling, perception, mental formations, or consciousness, whether one's own or external, whether gross or subtle, lowly or low, far or near, one should understand accordingly to reality and true wisdom. This does not belong to me. This am I not. This is not my ego. Suppose a man who can see were to behold the many bubbles on the Ganges River as they are driving along, and he should watch them and carefully examine them. After carefully examining them, they will appear to him as empty, unreal, and unsubstantial. In exactly the same way does the monk behold all bodily forms, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and states of consciousness, whether they be of the past or of the present, the future, far or near. And he watches them and examines them carefully, and after carefully examining them, they appear to him as empty, void, and without an ego. Whoso delights in bodily form, or feeling, or perception, or mental formations, or consciousness, he delights in suffering. And whoso delights in suffering will not be freed from suffering. Thus I say. Here, I'll read this short poem that's with Thus I say. How can you find delight and mirth where there is burning without end? In deepest darkness you are wrapped. Why do you not seek for the light? Look at this puppet here, well rigged. a heap of many sores piled up, diseased and full of greediness, unstable and impermanent, devoured by old age in this frame, to a prey of sickness, weak and frail, to pieces break this putrid body, all life must truly end in death. And I'm suggested to read this on. Did you ever see in the world a man or a woman, 80, 90, 100 years old, frail, crooked, as a gable roof, bent down, supporting on a staff, with tottering steps, infirm, youth long since fled, with broken teeth, gray and scanty hair, or bald-headed, wrinkled, with botched limbs? And did the thought never come to you that you are also subject to the decay, that you cannot escape it? And it goes on, as Buddhism very much hammers them rocks together and repeats and repeats and repeats. Do you get it? 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 So much as so that the Tibetan Book of the Dead is for the living, more than for the dying. And at the same time holding on to the principle that all things, and if a dead body is just a thing, just like the dirt, just like this bottle, just like this stack of cards. I wonder what one fell out. I guess we'll find out in a second. It's the King of Cups. What's up? That for 49 days, which is the distance between 3/13, March 13th, and May Day, that for 49 days after the death of a soul, monks come and pray over that body 24 hours a day and read the book repeatedly, 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 repeatedly. And the people, the family, they come and they go. They're worried about their missing loved one. The loved one has passed on. But it's taught that it takes 49 days in the underworld to be reborn into a new body. While all that's being read is to guide all souls. And of all the people that come and go to see that body and to care about their loved one, is that dead body and those monks that have no purpose other than just to recite a book repeatedly, are holding the whole thing together on nothing, when the ground is always listening. God's eyes are everywhere. God's ears are everywhere. And the people that come and go to see their loved one are nearly more dead than death itself. Let's see, we got Marcus Aurelius. Meditations here. Okay, let's see. Whenever you want to cheer yourself, think of the qualities of your fellows. The energy of one, for example, the decency of another, the generosity of a third, some other merit in a fourth. There is nothing so cheering as the stamp of virtues manifest in the character of colleagues. And the greater the collective incidents, the better. So keep them ready at hand, saying that each of us plays a part in the better and worse, and each has a skill that's required in the whole. None is removed from the constellation of souls, as all are bound upon one life, and one spirit is all lives and all spirits. You do not resent your weight, do you? That the weight only so many pounds and not 300? So why resent either a lifespan of so many years and not more? Just as you're content with the amount of matter allocated to you, so you should be content with your allocation of time. Try to persuade them, but act even if they are unpersuaded. Whenever the principle of justice so directs, but if someone forcibly resists, change tact to an unhurt acceptance, so using the obstacle to bring forth a different virtue. And remember that you set out on a conditional course. You were not aiming at the impossible. So what were you aiming at? An impulse qualified by a condition. This you have achieved. What we proposed to ourselves has been accomplished. How to understand your own good. This is 51. On page 56. How to understand your own good. The lover of glory takes it to be the reaction of others. The lover of pleasure takes it to be his own passive experience. The intelligent man sees it as his own action. It is possible to have no understanding of this and not be troubled in the mind. Things of themselves have no inherent power to form our judgments. Accustom yourself not to be disregarding of what someone else has to say. As far as possible, enter into the mind of the speaker. What does not benefit the hive does not benefit the bee either. Yeah. 40 minutes. Get through the rest of these. This book is Sufism, The Way of the Heart, The Transformation of the Heart. Before I'd ever even read this book, it's interesting. It was on New Year's Eve. I was filling in at a hotel. Man, if I start telling any stories, it's definitely going to have to be a 2-part video. At a hotel that was somehow connected in a loop. I used to manage the gas station right next door, and somebody who came to me, him and his girlfriend, for advice every day, came one day for advice when I wasn't there, and then he committed suicide and rotted in that hotel room. I don't know if the hotel belonged to the family, the same family when I filled in for New Year's Eve, but they were Hindu and relatives of the hotel that I managed later on when I was trapped in the bus. But I showed him this book as I was reading it while I was watching the place over New Year's Eve. And he looked at it and then just all calmly said, nah. He threw it at me. The transformation of the heart? No. What? See, looking too much into the details is what he was doing. And rejecting it. The heart. Right in front of him. And overminding it. Well, he owns the whole building. But he was keeping somebody that's on drugs there to manage it for him, like most Hindus do, so that they don't have to take any responsibility. They don't have to have a heart, except for their own family. And they have a heart because they're taking care of somebody that's down on their luck, while using God as people, as tools, and being calculated almost like serial killers. That's just a generalization, but that is a common theme I've noticed. Which Hinduism, as a cradle of the first civilization, if everybody's one family, why'd they have to come over here and get a hotel? And then, the lies Lies follow you. Though you can't escape it. You can't. Let's see what we got here. Well, this is perfect. Okay, so this section is called Finding a Teacher. How do you find a teacher? But we're going to skip right to this poetic part here. Abu Sa'id was asked, who is the spiritual guide who has attained to truth, and who is the sincere disciple? The sheikh replied, the spiritual guide who has attained to the truth is he in whom at least 10 characteristics are found, as proof of his authenticity. I've never read this part before. I've only gotten that far in. First, he must have become a goal to be able to have a disciple. Second, he must have traveled the mystic path himself to be able to show the way. I don't know why my throat chakra's closing up. It's funny being on both ends of your own story and trying to lead others. Trapped in the middle as the one left out. Third, he must have become refined and educated to be able to be an educator. Fourth, he must be generous and devoid of self-importance so that he can sacrifice wealth on behalf of the disciple. Fifth, he must have no hand in the disciple's wealth so that he is not tempted to use it for his own self and selfish gains. Sixth, whenever he can give advice through a sign, he will not use direct expression. Seventh, whenever he can educate through kindness, he will not use violence and harshness. Eighth, whatever he orders, he has first accomplished himself. 9, whatever he forbids a disciple, he abstained himself. 10th, he will not abandon for the world's sake the disciple he accepts for the sake of God. Who I have forsaken none. I have forbidden no one from anything. And no one has forbid me from anything either. So, looking at myself in the mirror as I'm reading this and thinking about it. Married the world. Yeah. Me and the world have been married since I was born. And all the people in between are teaching as disciples their own lessons. And all I can do is be. Just like the earth. It's just there for the taking. Whether you want to rape it, harvest your goods, and then go, look what I made. Uh-huh. And we get The Art of War by Sun Tzu. The highest realization of warfare is to attack the enemy's plans. Next is to attack their alliances. Next to attack their armies. And the lowest is to attack their fortified cities. Thus one who excels in employing the military subjugates other people's armies without engaging in battle, making the enemy defeat themselves. That's what media is about. You didn't know that? It comes from Persia. That's where media comes from. Ahura Mazda. You get what you pay for. You want to know what the news is? Well, you're probably going to get some bad news. Or, whatever the good news is, well, it's beside the point, kind of. When it comes to watching the news. Because your mood was fine and balanced, or whatever it was, until you turned on the TV and then you're like, oh my God, look, they're bombing Gaza. Oh, but what can you do about it? Is it something to go gossip about? How could you help? If you couldn't help, or at least talk about it openly with all beings as the news, then the fuck good is it to you? And it's just going to drag you down. And each person that's drugged down in their spirit drags everyone else down. And that's why the news, the media, is used where each is against themselves. And each holds themselves up. For the betterment of all, ultimately. Thus, one who excels at employing the military subjugates other people's armies without engaging in battle, captures other people's fortified cities without attacking them, and destroys other people's states without prolonged fighting. But see, that's straddling a line of what's here and there. Who's the other? Who has an enemy? Is a better question. What's an enemy? That's a state created in one's own mind. And it ain't the 51st, I'll tell you that much. It might be the 53rd. I don't know. Depends on how you want to look at it. He must fight under heaven with the paramount aim of preservation. Thus his weapons will not become dull, and the gains can be preserved. This is the strategy for planning offensives. Well, now we get the NIV. Yeah, I'll drink to this one. We got page 664 in Ecclesiastes 2 through 4, but we're on number 3. There's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Which, for those that go to church, say, oh, this is right, this is wrong. Ah, who could say? God is in all things. So who's not including certain people and who's only including certain others? It's created as a paradox in itself. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build. And all of these things start with a time, meaning upon oneself. We're not killing anybody. And we're not dying. But the mind in itself, each unto themselves. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear or tear and a time to mend or sow. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate oneself. And a time for war and a time for peace. All of these things, a time is a ticking clock. There, here, on oneself. This doesn't give anyone any ability to judge another or give consent to harm another or to cut someone off. Look at the Tao of Pooh. Eeyore! Eeyore! I didn't know you were playing, said Roo. I'm not, said Eeyore. Eeyore, what are you doing there? Said Rabbit. I'll give you 3 guesses, Rabbit. Digging holes in the ground? Wrong. Leaping from branch to branch of a young oak tree? Wrong. Waiting for somebody to help me out of the river? Right. Give Rabbit time and he'll always get the answer. Then Pooh got an idea. They could drop some stones in the river and the stones would make waves and the waves would wash Eeyore over to the river bank. Ribbit thought... Ribbit... trying to make Eeyore jump out of the water by throwing rocks in. Ribbit. Rabbit thought it was a good idea. Eeyore didn't. Supposedly we hit him by mistake, said Piglet anxiously. Or suppose you miss him by mistake, said Eeyore. Think of all the possibilities, Piglet, before you settle down to enjoy yourselves. But Pooh had the biggest stone that he could carry and was leaning over the bridge, holding it in his paws. I'm not throwing it. I'm dropping it, Eeyore, he explained. And then I can't miss. I mean, I can't hit you. Could you stop turning around for a moment? Because it muddles me, rather. No. I like turning around. Rabbit began to feel it was time he took command. Now, Pooh, when I say now, Pooh will drop a stone. Thank you very much, Rabbit, but I expect I shall know. Are you ready, Pooh? Piglet gave Pooh a little more room. Get back a little bit there, Roo. Are you ready? No, said Eeyore. Now, said Rabbit. Pooh dropped a stone and there was a loud splash and Eeyore disappeared. It was an anxious moment for the watchers on the bridge. They looked and looked, and even the sight of Piglet's stick coming out a little in front of Rabbit's didn't cheer them up as much as you would have expected. And then, just as Pooh was beginning to think he must have chosen the wrong stone or the wrong river or the wrong day for his idea, something gray showed for a moment by the river bank, and it got slowly bigger and bigger. And at last, it was Eeyore coming out. With a shout, they rushed off the bridge and pushed and pulled at him, and soon he was standing among them there on dry land. Oh, Eeyore, you are wet, said Piglet, feeling him. Eeyore shook himself and asked somebody to explain to Piglet what happens when you have been inside a river for quite a long time. Well done, Pooh, said Rabbit kindly. That was a good idea of ours. Well, they're all telling him, no. And Pooh's like, I know best. But he was the dumbest one of them all. Huh. But that's funny, because it could have gone any way. Then we got the Tao. Oh no, it's not with the other book I thought it was. It's the Tale of the I Ching, or the I Ching. Chapter 5, The Second Teaching. After an hour of silence, Fusi resumed from where they had left off. I used those 4 original combinations of 2 lines, each for many years. Ooh, I better hurry. And with their aid, I was able to add greatly to my knowledge. One day I realized it was time to push out the boundaries of my little system. Through observation, I had learned that when male and female mate, whether it be people, animals, plants, they produce another of their kind. Since the broken line and the unbroken line represent nothing less than the male and female, to each of the 4 pairs of lines I added a broken line at the top to represent the female's offspring, and to each of the 4 pairs of lines I added an unbroken line at the bottom to represent the male offspring. Then there was 8 different combinations. And as he spoke, Fuxi drew lines in the dust of the tortoise shell to represent each of the 8 figures or symbols called Gua. We got a little tortoise shell right here, which I keep in this little dish with the coins and these aquamarine stones that belong on a necklace or bracelet, but I don't have the bracelet yet. And the bowl says faith. Without faith, nothing is possible. With it, nothing is impossible. So I have 4 minutes left. Let's get to the Quran. Last one here. Oh, it's funny. This book is already written backwards, and the pages are divided into 2. But I picked it up, and it's upside down also, so that means it's probably right. And we turn to page 300. So let's read this one. Taha. Surah XX. Ooh, Saturn. Taha. And it starts with 82. Ha ha. Holy smokes on 300. And most surely I am forgiving to him who represents and believes and does good and continues to follow the right direction. And what caused you to hasten from your people, O Musa? Or Moses? He said, they are here on my track, and I hasten on to thee, my Lord, that thou mightest be pleased. He said, so surely we have tried your people after you, and the Samiri have led them astray. So Musa returned to his people wrathful, sorrowing. Said he, O my people, did not your Lord promise you a goodly promise? Did then the time seem long to you? Or did you wish that displeasure from your Lord should be due to you so that you broke your promise to me? Resentful toward God because you don't get what you want. When following the Lord, the best time is when you don't have any. That's when the promises become fulfilled. And you made the effort. And God can't not see that. And it irradiates off of you like a glowing aura. They said, we did not break our promise to you of our own accord, but we were made. See that we were made to bear the burdens of the ornaments of the people. Then we made a casting of them, and thus did the Samiri suggest. So he brought forth for them a calf, a mere body, which had a mooing sound. So they said, this is your God and the God of Musa. But he forgot. What? How could they not see that it did not return to them a reply and that it did not control any harm or benefit for them? Showing the division of the people within themselves, individually, and no sacrifice for everyone served everyone. If everyone was relying on God, all clung together, saying, oh, God's good to us, but nobody's walking with God because they're all separate and they're all clung together apart from themselves and apart from God. That's the core truth of religion. And certainly, Haran had said to them before, O my people, you are only tried by it, and surely your Lord is the beneficent God. Therefore follow me and obey my order. They said, we will by no means cease to keep to its worship until Musa returns to us. Us? We? I? Oh yeah, that's the wrong way. This book's backwards. Musa said, oh Haran, yeah, until Musa returns to us. And Moose is standing there talking to him. What the fuck? It's over. I gotta go. Peace.